Medicine is one of the most difficult, fast-paced, yet rewarding paths you can take. You can set out on your own and navigate the student loans, the bureaucracies, and systems that define a typical medical career. Or you can apply for the U.S. Army's Health Professions Scholarship Program and launch yourself into a medical career like no other. Your tuition will be completely covered, and when you graduate med school, you'll learn from and work with some of the most elite minds in medicine. That's the Army difference. Learn more and apply today at goarmy.com/HPSP.
Aloha, everyone, and welcome to Aquarian Radio on aquarianradio.com. I am your host, Janet Lesson, with my co-hosts, Karen Christine Patrick and Korey Laveau. And today we're going to interview Barbara Jean Lindsey, who is calling in about 5 minutes in some part of France, living right now. Let me tell you a little bit about Barbara Jean Lindsey, and I'll bring in Karen and Korey. Barbara Jean hosts the Cosmic Oracle Show on Revolution Radio on Tuesdays at 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where listeners who have experienced something beyond themselves, from the extraterrestrial, UFOs and ETS to the spiritual, OBEs and altered states. They can call in and share their stories. Through open discussion, camaraderie, and acceptance, we dispel fear and isolation and open the door for healing and support. She also gives free psychic readings for listeners. Barbara is an internationally acclaimed psychic, author, spiritual teacher, and inspirational speaker. She is an international seminar trainer, certified Fire Walking Instructor, certified Medical Hypnotherapist, Qui Gong Medical Practitioner, Level II Reiki Initiate, 25-year Interfaith Minister and in Glastonbury, England, Sister of Avalon. In 1989, Barbara Jean had an extraordinary near-death experience after full-body channeling an ancient Egyptian being. Her lungs collapsed, killing her in front of a live audience. Over the next few days, she fought for her life on the physical plane, spiritual plane, and beyond. Barbara Jean's story, journey, and transformation are chronicled in her autobiography, Dying for the Light. And following her near-death experience, Barbara Jean has appeared on numerous television, radio, online, and live event programs. So she said she'll be calling in about 5 minutes after the hour. So meanwhile, I will bring on Korey and Karen. So Karen, would you like to go first?
Oh, I'll go. Hello. I'm having
Hello.
a torrential rainstorm outside my. It just hit right when the show started. So it's exciting. My family, we live in New Mexico. We moved down from the Rio Grande Valley up to the mesa. So we're up on a mesa, which is a flatland near the Rio Grande Valley, and it has got incredible stormy, fun weather. It's gorgeous. We've got mountain views out all our windows. But it just means for a new form of excitement for our family. But I want to celebrate Korey. Korey came on as a guest on a couple of Aquarian radio programs, and he's just a well-rounded kind of guy, well-grounded and well-rounded. And so we asked him to come and be on our panel program on Thursday, because it just makes it more fun, right? So welcome to you, Korey.
Thank you very much, Karen. To introduce myself briefly, I've had lifelong experiences with contact. So throughout the years, I've done extensive research, and it's like having had my feet in one end of the pool and done my own swimming and finding a group of people that I can finally play Marco Polo with, I guess, go over different things and explore the territory. So I guess as far as introductions go, that suits for me. That's enough for me. As quick one anyway.
Well, thank you, Korey. Yeah, welcome to our show as one of our panel members. And
yeah, it's an honor. I've been, like I said, it's been an opportunity I've been waiting for to be able to share knowledge with people. So, once again, it's an honor, as always.
We're excited you're here. And I just saw a number pop up, so I think this might be our guest. And I'll put the mic on and see if it is.
All right.
Caller, area code 909. Is that you, Barbara, or is that somebody else?
No, it's me. Hi. Hello.
Hi, Barbara. Well, we are so honored that you're joining us at 2 a.m. in the morning for you. Wow.
Hey, I might.
Effort.
Well, it's the best thing I think I could think of to do after my birthday. So I was up all night anyway, and so I always have a lot of energy. So I'm really honored to be here and be a part of this. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. You're coming through loud and clear.
And happy birthday. My goodness, did you have a celebration? Did you do anything? What did you do for your birthday?
Well, I had breakfast in bed for my grandson. I turned 64. And so, and just had a good day with them. I'm in France, which I love, in Lyon. And we went to a bouchon for dinner. And, I'm a foodie, so, it doesn't take much to make me too happy. So we had just a glorious, dinner and just hung out and had lots of calls from friends today. And so it's just been a really sweet, kind of delicious, easygoing kind of a day, which is perfect.
Yay! And I am 62, so I'm right behind you. I'll be 63 in February. So I think fun being a baby boomer, and we're aging gracefully, many of us. Well, happy birthday! I'm glad you had a good time.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel I'm young at heart, so I still have a lot of trouble to get into still. So in a good way, in a very good way.
Pretty sure I'm the youngest person here, and so congratulations, Barbara, on your 60th, 65th. Was it?
64 is yeah.
Oh,
64.
and I don't know if you heard. I don't know, Barbara, if you heard of the other co-hosts. It's Karen Christine Patrick and Korey Laveau. And do you want to say hi real quick to Barbara and tell her what part of the world you're in?
Oh, hi. I'm Karen Christine Patrick. I'm in New Mexico, not too far from Roswell, actually.
Ooh, beautiful country. Beautiful country.
Yeah.
Hello, Karen.
Hi.
I'm Korey Laveau. I'm in the New England area.
New England.
Oh yeah, beautiful landscape. So it's kind of always interesting to be around so much plant life. There's a very beautiful dynamic that goes into how that the seasons changing, the interplay of the sun making things grow. It's like I think out in Mexico, what you have is cosmic energies stay at the ground, ambient level, whereas out here everything is absorbed by the plant life. So it's a different energy. The plants are what carry the light energy here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just mention to you, Barbara, that I'm Janet Care Lesson, and I am at the foothills of the West Nile Mountains in Maui, Hawaii. And the last property at the foothills of 12 miles of pristine rainforest, and it's the interdimensional portal to higher realms and levels of existence, and it's got lots of, menehune and discarnates and all kinds of, they said that this is the mountain behind this is called the home of the gods, like Olympus. Wow. So it's a very magical place, and of course I'm surrounded by giant tropical trees that are like 100 feet tall and more, and it's just an amazing existence here, and I'm blessed to have it. But I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, from New England part of the world, and I love that area as well. I grew up there. So, but let's shift the focus to you, Barbara.
Okay.
What would you like to tell our listeners about you and your work? And we're all ears. We'll give you about 15, 20 minutes, a half hour, kind of just listening to you. We might raise our little invisible hands here and ask you a question now and again, but then we want to give you most of the undivided attention, at least this part of the show, so you can tell your story. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Well, my story, it started, I was looking for, this was in my second marriage. When you get my age, I've had a few marriages, but it's all a good thing. It's the way you learn is through relationships. For at least that's how I learned.
Same here, yes.
And so I'm in my second marriage, and I'm just finding that I have everything. I have the house. I have all the stuff. All of the vacations, the cars. I have all the materialistic stuff. And it just wasn't doing anything for me. There was something that was missing. I wasn't sure what that was. So I started to look for it. So I started to take classes at a local psychic school there, and started to learn about meditation. I had never meditated before. It was a big step for me to even say the word psychic. I came from my background, I was Catholic at the time, and I was raised Jehovah's Witness on my dad's side and Southern Baptist on my mom's side. And so I had quite a broad range of backgrounds.
Yeah.
And so so that's how it kind of started. But one day I woke up in the morning, and it's all chronicled in my book, but I woke up in the morning and there was a white web around me. And I thought, well, what is this white web thing doing around me? And so I actually laid back down hoping it would go away. And then I got back up again. It was still kind of around me. So I ran down the hall and got the kids ready I was a single mom at the time with 3 kids, got them ready for breakfast, and actually called a girlfriend to come in and see. There was something where I felt like this webbing around me was causing a difference in time. The timing was off between me and my children and what was going on. It didn't feel right. So my friend was also a psychic student there, and so she came in and she said she didn't know what it was either. And my children couldn't see anything because I asked them. And so we went to the local psychic school because I thought, hey, they've seen everything. They've been around. They should know everything. And we'll get this fixed in a minute and I'll be off because I got way too many things to do besides to deal with this. And so we got there, and the school actually kicked me out of the school, saying something like, your energy is so erratic, it's changing the energy at the school. We need to keep the energy at the school neutral because people are learning about energy, about positive energy, negative energy, turning energy on, turning energy off, and they're learning all these things. And so someone has to be in control of the energy to keep it safe for everyone to learn about those things. Well, when I walked in, the energy just wacko, and so he kicked me out. And so later that night, there was a healing center for women, and there was about 35 to 50 women there. And so I walked in by myself, and I was starting to have trouble breathing. And once I walked inside the building, I don't remember really, I only remember one thing, but that happened. But what I was told by several women afterwards was that I passed out, and then they sat me back up in the chair. And when they did, I full body channeled a being from Egypt. And it was a male being, and it was harsh, and it scared the crap out of everybody. It just scared everybody. And if you knew me, I would be in the back, just kind of chilling, just kind of being, like it would be like my worst nightmare to be up there with having any of that attention there. And so I'm full body channeling this being, and he says his name in a male voice, very loudly that he is from Egypt and he is there to kill me because I had information that I couldn't give at the time. And so he collapsed my lungs in front of all the women. They called 911 and started giving me help, to breathe. And the only thing that I remember at that point was that I could come into the body and kind of hook in right behind my eyes and kind of scan everybody and see all of the people, how afraid they were. And so but the pain was too excruciating. I couldn't stay in the body. It was too painful. So I popped out of the body. And so where I went was a place I found myself in a place of warm, liquid, dark, undulating water. As far as I could see all around me, no one else around me, just me laying down like on a bed of this warm water. And I'm laying in this water, and there is so much love around me. I mean, more love, and I'm a pretty loving, nurturing kind of a ma, kind of that kind of a person anyway. I'm a touchy-feely kind of a person. And so I find myself laying in this warm, undulating water, and all this love. I like more love than I had ever felt before in my whole entire life, more love than I could get in one little fingertip if I was home. And I'm laying in this, I felt like I was back in my, like a good mother's arms, just kind of being held and loved and honored and respected and just hanging out in all this love while my body was being taken to the ER and all my family was called and they said I probably wouldn't make it through the night. And, and so I had a prayer vigil for me there as well. And so I was hanging on for my dear life, fighting for my life on the medical scene back on Earth. And on the back on Earth part is that the Western medicine kept me alive. And I think by keeping my body alive, then as a spirit, I was able to go out very, very far, very, very far away from my body because it was being taken care of. That's
like
kind of what I thought.
Travel.
Yeah, like astral. Yeah, but this is really different than that, but it's like that because what happened is all this love and all this, and I just burst, my whole part of me just burst into all this love. It was me, I was it was one. It was like I was one with everything, with all of creation, all of intelligence, all of beauty, all of love, all of everything, with all of it. And it was so much so that I finally just kind of burst. And when I burst open, because right before I burst, I looked down and I noticed that I didn't have a body. But yet I still existed. I did not have a body at all, and that blew my mind because this is back in 1989, and we didn't have cell phones. I didn't know about any of what I know now. After 25 years later, I studied as much as I could afterwards about all these things because I was a born skeptic, actually, and so I'm in this love place and becoming one with everything and totally noticed that I did not have a body yet. I still existed. And how could that be? And it really did something in my mind just exploded and just opened up my consciousness, just full board right there. And so then after that second, in a moment, in just a snip of a finger, I was up on a spaceship. And I had never been on a spaceship before.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
An interesting turn.
I didn't know, and it's very different than a trip. It's very different than a out-of-body experience because what I felt there was actually more than I'd ever felt in a body on Earth. I was more present there. I was fully present there. Everything was happening, and I was fully present 100% of me. And though I looked down and I couldn't see a body, there was still no body there. I never got to see my body. And that's the funny part. Other people could see it, but I couldn't see it. I looked down and I just couldn't see it. I could kind of feel it, and it seemed about the same size and the same proportions, and my hands and the way I would carry myself, but as a body, it just wasn't there. And I didn't see any light body. I just didn't have a body at all that I could see, but I could feel, it felt like the same body that I had on the earth, but I just didn't have one, you know. And
right. So you're on the ship, and you're feeling more than you've ever felt in your body. So it was a different place than where you were going when you were dying. Shifted. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, definitely a different place. Yeah, when I was dying, there was so much pain. And so when I was there, there was absolutely no pain. No pain.
So you're in a place of no pain, and you identify it as a spaceship. Okay. Is that what you're saying? So go ahead. Continue. Yeah. What happens next?
And I had never been on a spaceship before, of course. I didn't know about spaceships. It wasn't in my reality before. Just wasn't there at all whatsoever. I mean, I'd seen like a couple of movies. I don't remember what they were at this time, but nothing really. It just wasn't there. Just wasn't there.
Right.
And
so how did you know what spaceship you were on?
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, because it was round. Because it was round. There were no seams in anything. And I was an interior designer at the time, so I really had attention to detail of things too. But it had a sweet smell to it, and it wasn't organic at all. It was very more medical feeling in a way, but it was round, and it had I couldn't really see a lot around me. But as I'm sitting, the chair looked like a dentist chair, only it didn't have the straps on the arms or the legs, but it sat back a little bit, kind of lazy arm boy style, kind of like a lazy boy style a little bit. But it was very modern, very futuristic. There was a light on me, just a bright light just on me. Everything else was kind of semi-dark in the room. But it felt like a spaceship. I don't know how I knew it. It just was. And
it felt like a spaceship. Okay.
You know, because it just was. So there you go. That's the best I can do you. That's my truth. So, and it just was rounded, and it was not like anything I had ever experienced before. It was all new to me. So then a being, I'd say it was about 7 feet tall, maybe taller, with big square shoulders, had a long white robe, started coming towards me with a big hood on it, and I could never see his face. It was totally black in the face as he's coming towards me, though, and he has the robe flows down all the way down. I can't see the bottom of his feet, but he almost like he floats over, or someone's on roller skates, because the way he moved towards me was very kind of quick without effort and very graceful. So he had a real demeanor to him as like a master or a grandfather. It was a male energy, although I never saw any male anything, but it felt like a male. And he came towards me, and he introduced himself, and I called him the Guardian, and that was his name. And we telepathed back and forth, and he said he was there to be an intermediary between myself and a group called the Council. And so when he said he was glad that I was there, felt a lot of love with him. I wasn't afraid. I was like just chilling, with him, kind of like, I'm hanging out on the spaceship, talking to this total guy I don't know at all. And he told me, that he didn't say a whole lot, except for he was there to be the interpreter and to guide me. And so then he looked over to my right and to the back, and there was like a glass panel that lit up. And behind the glass panel were a group of beings that were dressed in the same robes that he was in. I could not see their faces. Some were taller, some were fatter, but they all had their own personalities, and they were telepathing amongst themselves, and they were getting all kind of excited and stuff. And then they would it looked like they would come to a group agreement, and then their one person that they designated then would talk to the guardian and interpret with him, and then he would interpret with me. And that's how it kind of worked. And sometimes they were like all up against the glass looking at me, and I felt like I was in a zoo, like if I was an animal in the zoo. They were really curious about me. And they seemed like they resonated at maybe a different time, but I knew they couldn't come out from that glass. They couldn't come into where I was at all for some reason. I don't know why. And then from there, wow. They had a window opened up to my right, and in it was a hologram of the Earth, and it showed a picture of it, and it started coming closer and closer to me, and I just saw how beautiful it was in space like that, floating in space, and as it came closer, it just kind of came right into me, and I went into her. And I kind of had the heartbeat of the Mother Earth, and my heartbeat became one. And I had never studied or had any. I was an organic. I loved organic gardening, but I had never had a relationship with the Earth before that. I didn't know that she was alive. I didn't know that she was a being and had her own sentient ness to her own beingness to her. And so I just started crying like a baby, and I felt like such a fool because I had no idea that the Earth was so respected and honored in the galactic awareness and her place in the universe. And so they started, teaching me things about her, and they were worried about her, and that we needed to take care of her and respect her and honor her. And and I was there, and so that, for me, my whole body just kind of shook from the information that I absorbed with her. And much later, after this, I did meet with a Native American Indian chief and studied with him, and really worked on my relationship with the Mother Earth. So that was much later, though. But at this time, I'm here and I'm having this experience with the Earth. And then from that point, in just a second, I'm flying up out of the ship with my guardian to the left, and we're just flying over hills and valleys of green forest. And the most technicolor green of all these, I would say there was probably at least 1,000 different variations of the color green. And I was merged with green and with the forest, and we just flew over. It seemed like forever. And it gave me such a calming and such a healing of peace and heart in my heart, and just became one with that as well, with the color green. And since that time, I had never been out of the United States before that. Since that time, I've traveled quite extensively around the world, and I've been to England and Scotland and Ireland, and so those greens, I would just eat them up. They would just, they would just make me feel so alive. There's that, that alive part of the color green, and so I got to really experience the beauty of green. And now I look back later after fact, and I know green is the heart chakra, and working with my heart. They were probably working on my heart at that time. I'm not sure what they were doing, but that's where they took me, and that's where I went. And I don't know how long I was there. It's timeless there. You're in it 100%. And so we're in that for a while until then, just in a second, then I'm starting to land my feet on these alabaster steps that light up. And I know people are thinking, yeah, I want some of what she's having, or can I, or they must be giving her some really good drugs at that hospital, but it's not like that. It's just really, really not like that at all. And the reason I would say that is because I was so there. I had really died. They had put the electro shocks on my body. I still have a scar that goes from my chest all the way down across my shoulder and down my one arm. It looks kind of like a tree from the electrical shocks. And I talked with the doctor 5 years later. I got all of my records, and he said it's the most electrical charge he had ever put through somebody, and he didn't think I would make it. So he said, "What the heck? Let's just give it a try." And so my body was fried on the inside and out, but I was totally released afterwards as a miracle. I was in the hospital 10 days, but no side effects from any of it. And everyone thought when I did come back, they had prepared my parents and my husband at the time that when I did come back to say goodbye to the old Barbara, because this new Barbara, they weren't sure what I would be like, if I would be a vegetable, if I would have any use of my, vehicle at all. And so back from there. So then I go up the stairs, and I look out. It's a round, circular. It looks like a Greek temple, and it's a circle of columns. And I've been to Greece after this, and it looked a lot like the Tholos temple over by Sybil and not Ephesus, but I forget the name of it. But I've seen the temple kind of like that since the experience. So I'm at this. I walk up to the temple. It's a round circular columns. It's floating in the middle of the cosmos. You can see the stars in the background. It is so beautiful. And there's the light like a moonlight or some kind of light coming down. And as I start to walk across the marble, there's a group of beings in these hoods and robes again that I never see their faces, but they're in a circle. And so they open their circle and I grab their hands. They did have hands, human hands, and I stand with them, and we're in a circle, and they are doing kind of like a guttural Tibetan chant. It's real low, like kind of like that. And so I'm with them, and we kind of link up, and then I become linked with them, kind of like with their energy. And as we're linking up, I look up, and in the middle is a column, like a Greek column, and in the column is a kind of a white vapor coming down that's spreading down, pouring down off of it. It's only about 3 feet tall, and it's flowing down white vapors. And then in the middle pops up is our Earth. Again, another hologram of the Earth, of our Mother Earth. And what they're telling me is that they are called the Watchers. And I've done some research on the Watchers. But at that time, they told me they were the Watchers. And part of their job was to watch, to keep the Earth safe, to keep it safe, and how special she was and how important she was. And that was their job. And they were like they had been there forever before time, like there was a timelessness to it. And so I don't know how long I was there with them, but they said I could come back whenever I wanted, and I do sometimes now, but not like then. I can never remake it or duplicate it, shall we say, since that original time. I've gone, but it's not the same. It's just not the same. So I'm there, and I am able to work with them as a group. So then, from that point, then it's time for me to go again, and so and I sometimes forget how it all worked, but he just goes up, and I never saw his face, but it's the same guardian, and it was time to go. And so from that point, then we start to just in a second, it's like you think it and you're there. Like there's no time, no space. And so we're starting to walk into this big room. And as the doors open, it looked like a huge Victorian house, only the ceilings were at least like 100 feet tall, and it had a huge solarium on the top of it. And you could see all the stars. There was music. I never saw anyone, but I'm standing with my guardian. We start to walk down the steps through down to where everyone is. And there's different kinds of beings it looks like from different planets or different countries. It's kind of like a Star Wars bar, only it's a gala event. And they have there's a person, like a waiter type person, who offers me a drink. And there no food, but just different primary colored stemmed test tubes, like to drink out of, kind of. But I start to take one, and I don't take it. The guardian says, he just kind of waves his hand. I guess I don't need it. And so so I'm there, and they come up to me. They're kind of like holding court in a way. The different beings would come up. The one I remember the most looked almost like a British person, and they all had little medallions, and they could talk telepathically to one another in whatever language it was, or they could talk. They seemed to enjoy talking like what we're doing now, where before everything had been only telepathic. But so we're having the telepathic, but also they're able to talk. They kind of enjoy talking, but it's all telepath to me. So I don't actually ever say anything, but I do talk with them telepathically. And most of them, again, I felt like I was on display of some sort, and they were inquisitive of why I was there. They did say that they liked my smile, although I couldn't see my smile, and I just thought that was so weird. And I remember one being for sure was kind of like a pink elephant-looking being, but he was bright pink, and I do remember that one. But you could see them like in a 3D level, but I wanted to remember as much of it as I could, but I wasn't there for that long. And what they had told me is that they were there meeting to discuss, right before they go, to discuss world policy and galactic policy on peace throughout the galaxy, that sort of thing. So it's like a diplomatic gala. So I'm there. I'm the only person who saw that was Earth being. I didn't see any other Earthlings there. It was only me for some reason. I don't know why. And so then from that point, it's time for me to go. And so from there we go up, and I'm up now, just swirling around and around like a swirling dervish, and going up and up and up, and feeling really lighter and really brighter. And then I'm surrounded by a group of goddesses, and they look like the Waterhouse print goddesses from the Renaissance period. They were dressed some vibrant orange. Some had a emerald green. They had turquoises and lapis blues, and they had beautiful jewelry, and they played harps. And they didn't say anything, but they toned, and they did toning like a beautiful sirens, like the old sirens. I don't know why I know that, but or heard it, but a mermaid singing sirens like that, real high pitch. So they worked on me. They said for me to find my voice, and I was really shy. I go, you guys are so amazing. I'm really a nobody. I don't even know why I'm here, And they said, no, you're here for your voice. And so they were real gentle with me, and they were real playful, like children in a way too. And then they said, just to try my voice. And so I started to make a noise, and it was real low, and I finally found my pitch, and they were so happy when I found my tone. And
wow.
it was my voice and a connection with that. And I taught that much later when I did women's healing events. We worked with them finding their voice, their tone, but that was much later again. And so then it was time for me to go, and I really didn't want to go, and I threw a big fit. I really didn't want to go. And he said, you have to go. And I go, he goes, what about your children? And I said, oh, my children will be great. They'll be fine. They have their own destinies. They'll just, and that's not like me. If you know me, I'm a single mom. I'm a fierce mom. Don't mess with my children and no one gets hurt. You know, kind of, it was, so, and then he says, what about your children? And then I remember my children. And so then I'm with him, and it takes just a little bit. And then I noticed a woman in a bed, a hospital bed, and my best friend in a meditative space. I go, what is my friend doing meditating there? And what is she doing in the hospital? And it took me a minute. I thought, well, what is she doing there? And who is that person? And so I started to go a little closer. And then I figured it out. It was me in the hospital bed. And I didn't freak out or anything. It was like, oh, that's me. I'm here, but that's my body. And I thought, oh, well, she's a little bit puffy. So and so then I'm up above, and the guardian said it's time for me to go back. And I said I really didn't want to go back. And I said, okay, if I do go back, then you need to give me something. And I don't know why I said it, but I need a get out of jail free card, or not that I was ever in jail, but some kind of, a pass or a code or some secret power, or, something like that. Because if I'm going back to that plane, it's so dense into that body, I'm going to need some major help now, because I've seen what's on this side. And so he thought it was the funniest thing, because I just start throwing a fit. And he said, well, that he would that I could have the gift of white light whenever I wanted it. And I said, what? And he goes, you have the gift of white light. That's what we're giving you. And I didn't know what it was that he was giving me. Now I know. And since then I know. But at that time I was pretty ignorant about a lot of things. And so he gave me this wonderful gift, and I just threw a fit like a kid. Instead of being thankful or grateful, I was just throwing a fit. And so then he goes, well, what about your children? I go, oh, that's right, I got to go back. So as I'm starting to head back to the body, he said, wait a minute, right before you go, there's something I'd like to ask you. And so I go back up with him. Here I'm floating with this spaceman, in this robe. I can't see his face. I totally love him, and I totally feel real good with him. And my body's down below in this hospital bed, and I'm, we're having this conversation, and he says to me, he goes, well, we'd like, there's a mission for you if you'd like to take it. And I said, yeah, I'll take it, without even thinking. And he said, we'd like for you to be an ambassador. And I said, oh, an ambassador. Well, that sounds pretty cool. Okay. And as I'm starting to go back down into the body, I look at him and I go, well, what's an ambassador? And when I look back, he was gone, totally gone. So I never knew what that. So then I start to acclimate back into the density of the body and really re-own the body and the different layers of that. And as I go back into the body, it's kind of like not a clicking noise, but a realigning. And I didn't know anything about chakras. I didn't know anything about the auric field. I was starting to learn about it, but I really knew very little basics. And so I found that I just into the body, and then all the white light came in and just filled up every little part of the body until I was totally absorbed in total white light, totally together. And then I sat up, took my first breath, and said I was starving and I wanted nachos. So
that's where the line "I still like nachos" comes from.
Yes.
in your bio.
Because I had been out for it's between 2.5 days to 3 days. If anyone wanted to look at my medical records, they can. It's kind of in between 2.5 days to 3 days. And so they thought I was dying and I would just be gone, right? And all of a sudden I just sit up and I'm starving and I start telling everybody, nachos. And it's like I just got up from a nap instead of on death's door, So
wow.
That's
Did anybody go?
Everyone by surprise.
It took everyone, and you've got different reactions. Because I was going to a school at the time, and so later when they wouldn't let me go back to school for a month because they said they wanted to make sure my energy was okay to go back, and so that was not a good move because I was left alone, really alone to figure out how all this worked because what happened was after this, all my psychic abilities turned on 100%, and I could not turn them off.
Right.
I just didn't know how to turn it off. And it took me probably a good 3 years to figure out how to do that, how to turn them on and how to turn them off.
Probably have some questions. I know I have questions. Okay.
Okay.
Real quick one. Did anybody get you nachos? Did anybody
Yes,
get you nachos?
Yes, my dear friend Priscilla snuck them in her purse. About 3 days later, I called her and my partner in crime. I said, "Look, the food here really sucks." I told you I'm a foodie. I was always a foodie. That was part of my nature, probably. And so she brought this huge thing of nachos, and I ate them. They were the best nachos in the whole world. And I still really love nachos. I don't know, but I just really do.
Good. And I missed, what part of the world was this? Were you living when this happened?
In Sacramento, California.
Oh, in Sacramento. Okay.
Yeah.
I was there last year. I kind of got a little bit of an idea of the community there. And then I'll pass the talking stick to the next person. The ambassador. I went to a meeting with 100,000 individual different species in a structure that we constructed just for the meeting with our own minds. And I was an ambassador reporting what it was like to be a human being in the 21st century, living in America, et cetera, and like a State of the Union address to this whole group of like the United Nations of Extra-Terrestrial Beings type of meeting. And they said I was an ambassador. And in that meeting, I got very clearly, it's all telepathic, and it's not words, it's like concepts. And as it was revealed that I was an ambassador, the idea came that there are more, and you will meet them. So this is prophecy fulfilled, but I am meeting ambassadors. But you were actually called an ambassador. So thank you for validating that for me. And do you know what that means at this point, what an ambassador is?
No, I'm a work in progress. So I wish they would have defined it for me. It would have been so much easier, right? But they don't do that. You have to learn. It's such a learning, growing, changing, evolving, life that we have to be here on this earth. And so I have to find out what it is. And there's a couple of things. I believe that now I'm older. I thought I didn't know what it was. First, I owned a fine art gallery at the time, and I thought, okay, I'm an ambassador of the arts, and then I'm an ambassador of love, and then I'm an ambassador of women's empowerment. Then I'm an ambassador between the worlds, and then the list just went on and on and on. And so then I just figured that I'm an ambassador, meaning I'm a communicator. I'm a bridge maker, something like that. And it has to do with the love part, because it all comes back to that we are love, we are made of love, we return to love, and it's all about the love. And on this earth, we are learning about how to love. And we're such loving amazingly beautiful beings that we can't lose sight of that ever. And so I feel like that's part of my work is the love part. And, sometimes the love part, people don't want to hear it. They'll walk away from that, or you start, when I first when I got out of the hospital, I would hug people. I mean, really hug them. I still kind of do that, but not so much. I can control it now, but I would hug strangers. I just wanted to hug everybody and love everybody. So,
wow. Let's hear from Karen. We haven't heard from you. Then we'll go to Korey.
Okay, I just enjoyed this story quite thoroughly, and I had a lot of parallels to some experiences I've had, and I sort of correlate that I had a time of extreme stress between 2013 and 2014. So my coping mechanism was to walk between the worlds. So when I was just sitting still or at a break or something like that, I didn't really have access to radios and TVs and stuff. I would just check out over to the other side. And like you said, you can't really explain those colors. I've had those not quite so significant of a near-death experience, but just I think I had some close calls, if you will, and so I kind of get that. I love the part where you say you have the fit that you don't want to go back into your body, because I had an abduction, and they've talked me through it. This is very funny because they're like, okay, you're going to have an abduction, and this is what's going to happen. It was this female voice telling me all this telepathically, and the thing that she said is I said, well, am I going to remember it? Because I know a lot of people forget. And she says, well, it depends on how upset you get, because the more upset you get, the more you kind of like more pain. What John Polk, one of our co-hosts, says is alien anesthesia. So the more pain or upset or negative emotions, if you will, or negative reaction, the more you're going to be hit with what he calls alien anesthesia. And that's why people kind of have to unfold their abduction experiences sometime, and then later down the road, when they're less afraid, they start to remember more. So the experience happened. I had marks on my body. There was a whole, bunch of things that kind of validated it. And I'm like, why didn't I remember it? I was really trying to make myself mentally prepared for this. And then later on down the road, I realized that exactly what you said. I was great. I went some places, saw some people. I was still unfolding that. I got to the end of the experiment, and I did not want to go back. That was where I had my hissy fit, and I don't want to go back. I mean, free from pain, free from emotional pain, which is the big thing I was experiencing at the time. It's like, this is the perfect place. It's like, why do I have to go back? And it was like, well, you haven't finished your mission yet. And I'm like, what mission? Kind of like with you. But I kind of know more about it by this time in my life. But still, it was funny that you said that, because and some of what you talked to you about reconnecting with your body, or how our connection is with our body, like you tried to go back in behind your eyes, and I found out from that very early on, that's something I've done since a young child. The government wasn't even interested in me, because I could remote view, but I literally could remote view out somebody else's eyes or some other being's eyes. So our existence is a lot more fluid. Like, we aren't our bodies at all. We are our spirit bodies or our light bodies, and what we're wearing to be able to walk around on the planet is our Earth, spacesuits. So I just enjoyed your story. I just wanted to add a few, observations of my own. So thanks for your really cool story. Go ahead, Korey.
Thank you. Barbara, it's a beautiful, amazing story, and what sticks out for me is that it's so typical and yet atypical of a near-death experience. Something really special happened with your circumstances. Before I get into that, and one thing I want to root back to real quick is the ambassadorship aspect that we all have awareness of. My understanding of that is an ambassadorship for what we're dealing with is the level of bringing back into human awareness the spirit realm and the cosmic connection with the spirit realm, the connection, the deeper connection that entities that are not terrestrially bound have, that are, they're technologically out there in spaceships, but there's an element they have of where they've amplified their level of awareness to the point where they have a greater connection with the spirit world realm as well. So the ambassadorship goes both ways because, we're integrated with it too. We've just taken this incarnation on and part of it, the experience is repressing our connection with the divine so that we regain it and reaffirm it, and thereby grow.
I agree with that. Well, we're conditioned. We were conditioned to be a certain way and not to look at this. What happened to me is really normal. It's really, really the way it's supposed to be. Actually, we're supposed to have this awareness, and I've, taught children and taught my kids and my grandkids, and my children grew up with it, so they're aware. I want everyone to be aware of it.
Yeah.
That it's not so much having the human having an alien experience as much as I come from the stars. I come from that cosmos. I want to have more connections there and have that in a human experience. At the
cosmic being becoming reacquainted with the cosmos.
Yes, exactly. And then you can not only walk between worlds. I mean, you can just there's no end to what you can create in such beauty and magnificence of the divinity of that in an unworld. There's no word for it.
It's the unbounded, unfettered existence of being. You can stand on Earth, and look up at the sun, and then project yourself toward the sun and mingle with the entities around there, or go and see what's going on the moon, that kind of thing. Your existence is so linked with all their forms of consciousness is that you can sense it immediately, and it's a hypersensitive level too, obviously, for some of the beings that are out there.
And I've been just working with the part that I really allowed myself to have that cosmic part of myself really resonate and be my thinking processes for a while instead of just the human kind of shut down part, that I let myself explore and actually have that and walk that and be that. And it's not it's not alien. I don't know what you would call it, but it's me. It's, we're also multi-dimensional and we're just so amazing that, there's just so much to explore and learn that I'm excited about it. Even at my age, I'm still really excited about it.
It's when you get into actual interaction, it never gets old. It becomes such a part of your life. I do a lot of sun gazing, and what I'm doing when I'm sun gazing is I'm actually getting into a pretty powerful degree of communication with these kind of super consciousness entities that are often on tour around the sun. So that's I'm not going to go into my whole it's about you, it's your interview, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. Just to note that. To get back to a couple things that really strike me about your experience is this web you were surrounded by. Are you familiar with the concept of the weird?
Of the what?
The weird is the Celtic understanding of karma or interconnected energy, where it appears, this might factor into your heritage too, if you have good solid Celtic bloodline.
I'm Scottish. I'm Scottish and Irish, and a Native American Indian as well. But Scottish and Irish for sure on both sides.
Scottish, Irish, French myself. The weird is that interconnectedness, and it's seen as a web. And it's really interesting because it's clear. There's a clear link with it between the concepts of the psychic field, and it's almost like you could say that the web. It goes back to the kind of a branching structure or the fractal essence of a unified field. So what I'm getting happened with you, some aspect of you became switched on as you started entering into this school and opening up your psychic abilities. So your energy kicked in, and unfortunately it doesn't sound like this school was very well schooled themselves. It sounds like they were kind of winging it here, and didn't give you the support they should have, unfortunately, but part of that is finding your own strength.
Right.
the web that extended and started sending around you would have been your own fractal linear connection, your own electromagnetic energetic capacity kicking in and starting to radiate and resonate from without you. And that was what you were seeing, whereas everyone else was getting this incredible flow of energy emanating from you because you'd connected to this fractal state, or weird, or however you want to call it. So my guess would be is that when that happened, I don't know if you delved into past lives, but I would bet that you have, there's this entity that came in then and caused your lungs to collapse. That is awful. That's a nightmarish thing. That is not the kind of contact you want to make. It's good that that's rare. That And it sounds like you were rescued after too, almost.
I was rescued. I forgot that part. Because it was in a psychic room with there were 35 to 50 women who were all studying to be psychic, and there were psychic teachers there. Cindy, my best friend, told me they were reading the energy as I was going through all of this, right? And what they told me is when this Egyptian being was trying to kill me, that another being came to my rescue, and his name was Thor, a Norse god. Came and battled.
Thor.
Isn't that? And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's like this stuff is real. You can't make this up, because it is just weirder and weirder.
We have to take back to SR too. Continue.
The Norse god came and they battled for me, and the Norse for my soul in a way, and so the Norse god won. He won. He
had a hammer. I'm sure that helped. Mjolnir would be. And I think there's an equivalent there in Egyptian pantheon as far as artillery goes. It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, and so I've been to Egypt, several times. I've been on a discovery of why and all of this sort of thing, because, and then you go down that rabbit hole for so long, and then you gotta, come back up and, take care of business in a practical application as well,
Fetch wood, chop water. Wait. Fetch water, chop wood.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm looking at Thor. Which god is Thor besides the Nordic? Like going back to the Anunnaki, it's always debated. Is that
his correspondence with the Anunnaki?
Is that Enki? Yeah, is that Enki? Is that Enlil? Is that Marduk?
I would say Ninurta because there's the thunder and the warrior aspect to Thor.
Yeah.
And Ninurta was all
Mars,
about
God Mars too. Yeah.
Then if he's Ninurta,
Marduk doesn't fit because Thor was loyal to the other gods, and Ninurta had the loyalty aspect going too. So I'd say Ninurta. That's my interpretation anyway.
So then Odin would be Enlil. Ninurta was the son of. Anyway, we're diverting. But it's very fascinating. So Thor came through. Now, how did you know that it was Thor? Did he say, "I'm Thor"? Or
I never saw him, but the psychics.
You don't know why they knew it was Thor. Okay.
He's told them his name was Thor, and when my friend told me this, afterwards I just thought it was the strangest, crazy thing, and I just kind of stuffed it for a while because I just had so much to deal with, and then I started learning about him. Then then you get obsessed, and I need to know everything about Thor. But really, afterwards, I needed to learn everything I could about Egypt. And then I also wanted to learn about spirals and spiral energy. And those, because afterwards I kept drawing spirals. I still draw spirals till this day. I just keep drawing them. I think, I must have been a pretty good potter back in Greece. All we did was put spirals on the jars or something. I don't know. But since then, the symbol that I brought back was that. And then, my abilities turned on. And once I got back, I stopped. Everything had changed so much. I divorced my husband. I closed my art gallery, and I dedicated myself to doing healings and readings for people. And I've done that for 25 years now. So, and learning as much as I could, and they, I just knew somehow, some way, all these dots would get connected. But so far, I don't know about the Thor, except for I do know if I really got in trouble and really needed help, I know that Thor would come, and I
Wow.
I have no reason to know that. I don't know why, but I just know. But hey, it didn't help me through some bad marriages, so but I got really strong, and I learned a whole bunch of things. And I'll meet with my exes up at the Astral Bar after this life and tell them thanks for teaching me how to be strong and independent and to say no and to have discernment, and then I can see a coyote from 1,000 miles away. So it once you have an experience like this, it doesn't mean that everything's just great afterwards. You still have all these human aspects, and if anything, I think you even have more of a razor's edge because you have to take some responsibility in all that you've been given as well. And a lot of learning. It took a long time.
A lot of learning.
And I think the meditation was the key for me to keep my sanity. Was meditation.
There must be a balance not only for us, but for those of us who bring us and initiate us into these experiences, because it's like, if we push you too hard, you're going to be lost. So it's like we have to give you just enough to give you enough strength to cope with the change that's going to occur, but not overwhelm you at the same time.
Yeah, very well said. That's exactly it. Exactly. I think it's taken me 64 years to now I can have peace in all of it. I think, it's finally taken me this long. I think if I was going to do any role as an ambassador, maybe now would be the time, because I feel like I've just about been done and had everything kind of in a way. I've just been through it, but I still kept myself intact in all of it, and my relationship with spirit. So I don't know. So Korey, go ahead. I interrupted you there. So
that was fine.
We're doing great. We're doing great.
There is a point I want to go back to too, and I'm sure Karen is curious about this as well. There was one point you were outdoors at night, and I think it was when you were headed into this villa or mansion.
Mm-hmm.
But you said there was a moon in the sky shining down. Do you remember if that was Earth's moon or was it something else?
No, it was something else. It was some other kind of light. I'm not sure what it was. But it was shimmering, like when you have the light on an ocean and it shimmers. It was kind of like that. It was kind of like that. Yeah.
All right.
And I have gone back to that place. And what I tried all sorts of things to see how all this would work. I tried to take it apart and put it back together and try and work out all of this on the intellectual way. And what I discovered is I can do that all day long, but when they want to come, they'll just come. It doesn't matter. So, and when I get it through different ways, and since then, I learned how to channel. I went to channeling school for a year and learned how to channel. I wanted to learn so that never happened again. And I learned a lot, when a being's starting to come in and take over a body without permission, number one is they took that being seriously. And the moment they took the being seriously, it had them. It engaged with them. And you can't, and that was such a learning for me. And so if you would have laughed at him and not taken him seriously and he couldn't have taken any of your power or lived off that fear, and taken it for himself. So I learned a lot about that sort of thing afterwards as well.
So if you just laugh at them, they disappear.
If you laugh
at them, they disappear.
Yeah, if they can catch you on something, engage you with something, then they have you, But if it's like a worm tongue person, if they just talk all this talk and you take them seriously, then they have you. But if you just, punch them or just laugh at them or just walk the other way, then
can you white light them away? Can you just kind of white light them away and send them off somewhere else?
I think I would maybe do that later. I think I wouldn't listen to them. If you don't engage with them is the best from what I found. I'm sure everyone has a different way, but yeah, and you bring in your white light, and it is a powerful source. It really is. That we all have that. We all can have that gift of that. We came in with that. So I hear what you're saying with that too.
So when you channel, do you have a certain message you want to speak to, or you just allow whoever wants to come through, or how do you work it?
So I'm really careful about who I let in, and so I used to do it only once a year when I did my women's retreats, the Heart of the Cosmic Woman, and at the end on that Sunday we would do a fire walk and a sweat lodge, a knee peace ceremony, and then I would do a channeling session, and so each person, I would just be in my space where my body is comfortable, and then I would go up, just not too far up, and be able to have a communication with my body in the chair. And then I would have my eyes closed. But when each person would come up one at a time, so depending on what they needed is what was given. So different voices would be whatever they needed to hear at that time.
Karen, you're far too quiet. Say something.
Oh man, I'm just listening. This is a great conversation. I've got the capacity to channel too, and something says it's not really something I should do like professionally, like someone like Bashar or someone like that. What it is for me is like a resource. Like if you have a situation and if I talk to this being over here, I'm going to get the insight. Like if I have something wrong with my car, I'm going to talk to this particular mechanic. Or if I have something wrong with my writing, I got to talk to my mentor over here. So that's sort of my initial feeling about channeling. What I've done in the past is just translation. So you're back to the ambassador concept. It's just if I'm working with someone, or I even done it once, I think, on Aquarian Radio, or it might have been Secret Matrix on a Sunday, is just translate. I meant have telepathic contact with a particular being, and I would just say, he says this, he says that, sort of a mediumship kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But, which is, like you said, what resource do you need right now in this moment is a good thing. I want to go back to the spiral thing and the spiders thing, because that's so cool. It comes from Irish Celt, folklore and observations. I really think in being Irish Celt and Cherokee and Potawatomi Indian Native is my background. I get to pull from the shamanic and druidic, backgrounds to learn from. And so I think a lot of what we say, like folklore, is really descriptions of a real realm, our energetic realm and energetic beings. And we should really take our ancestors far more seriously and give them more credit as being eyewitnesses to things. But from the native side, we should take our ancestors seriously about their observation and not just say, oh, that's myth or mythology or a story they made up. We need to start recognizing that they were eyewitnesses either to beings who visited, or they were eyewitnesses to things in etheric or other dimensional realms. Respect your ancestors. Keep faith with your ancestors, as one elder told me once. And this spider thing is very interesting because in the Native American traditions, they have the spider grandmother and the spider grandfather. And these are like the beings that like weave the interconnection between all things. It's almost like the first order of energetic beings kind of weaving together the basis for our reality construct. That's literally how basic they are. And so the web, of course, we have the World Wide Web, www, right, on every single web address, is, we literally are recreating, and I was going to give a talk on this, but it got curtailed, but we're recreating the interconnection of all things through our technology, the internet, and I said there's an underlying internet, INNERNET, internet, right, that operates identical to what now that we're getting more we're in the information age, we're in the virtual reality age, we're in the, this virtuality that we're participating in, which allows us to even do this radio show where we have this, we're spread over half the globe and we can talk, we can sit down and have a chat, is because of our technology. We're now engaging each other in a similar space as to how you make contact with other beings. So if anybody wants to know how that is, that's a real similar. You can use the idea of technology to understand that. So if I have a question, and I call it the quest I own, the question. If I have a question and I want to know something, and I go within, it's like Googling, okay? The answer or the answer or the thing that swears to be the answer to the question is going to be exactly the same shape. So it's like if you have a body of water and you take a teacup or a vase or a pitcher or a thimble, depending on the question is the answer. It's going to match. It's going to match the energy of it. And it's brilliant how that goes at every level, Even nature does that, right? And then, and that's vector intention. That's called vector. You have a direction, and you're putting your intention there, and then you're getting back information. And then basically interacting with other beings is not unsimilar from being on Facebook, frankly. It's a social network, and I love it when you were talking about, if a negative being comes at you, it's like if a creepy person, makes a pass or does something socially, rude online, you can just block, right? You can just block that. And and that's and it's just interesting because the coin of the realm is attention. We find out from science, from quantum science, that our attention and observation has energy behind it and power behind it, and you literally pay attention. You're giving energy to something. So if you don't want something to bother you, don't pay attention. Don't give it the time of day if you know it's not going to go anywhere. I mean, occasionally you can learn from a lower entity, negative, being once in a while if you need to learn something from them. Generally speaking, everything you need to know can be known through higher light, absolutely, higher understanding. But that's the trick is we go into these realms and we didn't get ready for that. Nothing in our education system or human matrix system prepares us for that. But we can learn. We can go to classes like you did, and I think where's that channeling class? That's what I want to know. Or we can learn from the beings themselves or learn within. But the spiral thing is also, just quickly to say, is spirals represent the toroidal energies that our whole entire universe is built on toroids or spirals, or if you look at an apple, you see it's shaped. If you cut an apple in half, you see the seeds in the middle and the two hemispheres of it. Everything is this toroidal shape. And a spiral, if you take a spiral and you draw it from the outside in, that's centripetal energy, so that's the cohesive drawing towards the center energy, attraction energy. And if you make a spiral from the inside going outward, that's a centrifugal going from the inside out force. So sometimes when we want to alter energy and we're just thinking about it and you find yourself doodling spirals, take note of which way you're drawing them. Are you drawing them from the outside in? That means you want to draw something towards yourself. And if you find yourself drawing the spiral from the inside out, it means you want to kind of push something away from you or put some distance between you and it. So and that's exactly what a spider does, right? They make a spiral, and that's how they make a web. So I thought that'd be fun to just talk about. But anyway, I'll pass the stick.
Okay. Back to who wants the stick? Barbara, you want the stick? You got to talk for a while, and then we'll go back to Korey.
Okay. I love you guys.
Love you too.
Nice feeling.
Right. Really wonderful. I feel like we're old friends and we're just getting to chat, and it's been a long time. I feel like we've known each other. It has, isn't it? It's just really kind of wild. But I love what you're saying about the spiral. I love what you're saying about all the different the fractals, the linear, all those sorts of things. It's just trying to make sense of something that, for me, that was just so huge. It was like taking a gallon of water and putting it into a thimble. It's like that much information all at once, and then processing it, and it's taken a long time, and it's channeling. I had to learn how to channel, and by doing, like, when I do the shows, when I do readings for people, I like what you said, where you connect with them. It's connecting with them in their spark. It's connecting with them in their heart. It's connecting with them spirit to spirit. And so when you do a reading or give information, whether it's channeling or doing a psychic reading or a hands-on healing or, whatever it is, that's those connections. That's that connection that we're all the one connection, and it all works, and then it kind of has a softness to it as well. For me, when I see it like that, there's a softness to it. Not that it's feminine or masculine, but it's organic would be the word. So that's what I have to say. And I'll pass
Korey.
it.
All right. So, going to the point about the aspect of how these entities approach us, especially when they're of negative intent. There's an interesting dynamic that occurs that if you pay attention to, you'll notice, and it's like what Karen pointed out about Facebook too. In some way, you have to invite them in order for them to be able to influence you. But the interesting thing about that, and what's ultimately empowering about that, is it shows that you are, in fact, that sovereign and powerful. Obviously what it means is that if these entities were to try to approach you without getting some form of permission from you, then your higher guidance would look upon it as an affront to you and would have, in Barbara's case, she'd have Thor coming in to deal with these entities because, and Barbara, your experience is actually a really good example of apparently what, like the worst case scenario of one of these entities getting passed and being rebuked by a higher power.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's it's a quote I want to share, but to think of it in one way, it's like to put it together like this. A lot of the people coming back from the near-death experiences, and you had this too, and Barbara, and the admiration the entities on the other realms showed for you. Others have come back. I want to say Danny and Brinkley was one, and also there's another good ND experience that was put into a book. But the entities there, I told them, we hold you in high such esteem because you choose to do this, to go into Earth density and incarnate in this physical form where all these awful things can happen to you, where you can experience so much pain and suffering and disconnection, and yet your essence remains pure. Who knows, in fact, how long, the incarnation cycle has really been going on, and who set it up in the first place. But we're like, it makes us like the head of the class, basically, like the highest students. So it's kind of like, to them, we're like the upperclassmen to those who are incarnate in the spirit realm. Mm-hmm. I have another. I'm trying to think if I had something else I wanted to add. If anyone else has anything, go ahead, because I'm kind of gathering thoughts right now.
Okay, we can come back around. There's a caller. Let's see what they have to say. I'm going to put them on. They might just be listening, but I'll ask them if they have questions. Caller at area code 619, you're on the air. Do you have a question, or are you just listening?
Oh, I was
Hi.
just listening.
What would you like to ask? Are you just listening? What's your name?
My name is Jan.
Oh, Jan.
Hi, Jan. Thanks for joining us. So you don't have to ask a question. I just wanted to make sure in case you wanted to ask. So thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Hi, Jan. I know Jan. I know you, Jan. I know your voice.
Hi, Barb. I like to listen in on what Barb does.
Well, she's a keeper. She's a good one.
I mean, I've read her book and I know her and I've heard the story, but I like to hear it again. So
it's one that's worth repeating. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, when I hear it again, I have a different insight about it, and I like to know about the people. I like to hear people's stories about being abducted. I like to hear people's stories about going up on ships, and I want to go up on a ship myself, but then I don't know, I might be too scared, and then I thought about it, I go, well, what if I do get abducted? How am I going to be when I get back? Am I going to be able to function in life? Maybe I don't want to function in life anymore, I'm tired of functioning in life. But, we all have our work, to do. It's like, hey, do I really have to see his body, Yes. It's not your choice right now. You have to do what you're supposed to do. And I think, finding out what our mission is a challenge to, I think for me, I think I know what my mission is, but doing my mission simultaneously walking in a human body is our biggest challenge. And that's the one that I'm facing right now, is that I know about my higher self, I know about my extraterrestrial self, and yet I have to do a real grounded, stressful kind of employment job. And so balancing the two of them, I think, is probably all of our work. And it's hard, I'd rather not. I'd rather not be grounded, So anyway, as I listen to your stories,
the blue pill or the red pill? The blue pill or the red pill? Want to go?
As I listen to the stories, I love listening to this stuff. I can't hear it too many times, and then I reflect. Yeah, I reflect on my own self, how I'm walking through life and trying to be balanced is I think a really big, it's just a big challenge. Mm-hmm. So that's all.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. I hear you. Life is we live in interest, and life is on a high, fast, accelerated level for everybody. And if you want to contact your extraterrestrial beings or whatever, it's easy to do. You just put out the intention and then go to sleep. And
oh, really?
become aware that you are being contacted. Keep a journal by your bedside. And like Whitley Strieber told us, 20, 30 years ago when he wrote Communion, is, you're going to get scared because you're going into another reality, and your body, which has fight or flight reflexes, is going to be like the little bird in the hand. The beat's going to be about a minute. You're going to, but experience it, and if you just allow and experience it, oh yeah, I'm afraid. Go into your witness. Oh yeah, this is going on. Then they'll start contacting you because that shows that you're ready. But it's a training. It's not going to be instantaneous unless you are, I don't know, lifelong meditator or something. It's like Whitley said, forgive yourself and just keep practicing. And it took him a long time, but finally he was aware they were in his living room. His bedroom was up in a loft type of thing. He would start to get on the steps, run into bed, and then he would get halfway down the steps, run back to bed. And then he finally got down the steps. He saw the being in his living room. The being was sitting in lotus, meditating. And then finally he was able to go and sit opposite the being and sit and meditate with him for hours.
Wow.
And any of you can do the same. So I just invite you to train your body to not run away and realize that this is something you can experience.
Wow.
And then they'll take you on board ship.
What I'd add to that, Jane, is I had the funniest thing happened with my own recall of experience in that I went into my early 20s thinking that I hadn't had any contact because I'd so heavily repressed the memories of what had been going on. So I get into my 20s, all the memories start coming back. I had a marker memory kick in after I came back from a trip out west, and that was what set it off, and it was like everything opened up after that, and it was frightening. It's frightening too if it's the memories that start to come in, because then it's like all the buried stuff you have around it starts coming back too. So you'll recall things and start hyperventilating and stuff like that sometimes. But,
oh God.
It's like they say too about it being the bird in the hand sensation, or being in the clutches of a higher power, or higher, more advanced entities. There's a mechanism that we have innate, that reacts with a degree of fear to that. And it's also the disconnect, too, the fact that we're disconnected from it, have no context for what's going on. In shamanic societies, it's integrated the understanding that you're going to have contact with spiritual entities, and those that are, of course, a blending of the spiritual and ET. It's one of the things I'm coming back to now and really thinking about is that we need to stop thinking of not just ourselves, but also of non-terrestrial beings as being nuts and bolts physically oriented, because we're not, and they're not either, and they've had a greater freedom in their density to be able to express and learn about how to integrate with that. So they're very much of the physical and the dimensions above physical. But yeah, if it can depend too, negative contact, we talk about that term gets thrown around, and it's so hard to say exactly what is a negative contact and what isn't. Because even when we have the traumatic aspect of contact, there's so much else that goes along with it, and there's so much to learn even from the traumatic experience. It's kind of, to me it's comparable to how we incarnate on Earth in the first place and endure suffering, in that, we choose to have those contacts and potentially be exposed to entities that aren't going to always act in a frame of reference that's respectful to our mores, to our understanding of, how we would normally want to be treated, just be by nature of how their perspective is so removed. You could almost say like maybe some of them, that appear negative have the perspective of even if they harm you, the experience itself is going to be something that will propel you into a higher state of being anyway, so they just go with some of their impulses or just do the procedure even though they know it's going to make you uncomfortable. That kind of perspective, I think, is actually in play with how they interact, because it makes sense in that it's not the courtesy that, and sensitivity that should be there, and some of it is their emotional context, but it's also the that difference in perspective, because there's even testimony that they can port souls back into the body, so the physical body to them it doesn't mean as much. And anyway,
are you all familiar with Travis Walton?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I recently met somebody who lives right by where he got abducted, and I want to go there so bad. But I heard him speak, and people go, "Oh, were you affected?" And he says, "Oh, my body is not affected." But he doesn't go into how he was affected otherwise. And we were like sitting there in a row listening to the guy, and when he was done, we all just wanted to lay down and go to sleep. The guy was unintentionally or whatever transmitting some vibrational frequency that wasn't nice. But boy, the guy has definitely been affected. So anyway, it was a pleasure being able to hear him speak and tell his story. So, anyway, thank you so much.
At a conference with him in Toronto, and he's a very, very nice man. But he, at one point, realized that he was actually killed when they hit him by the beam, and it was an accident, and they took him on board ship and restored him and brought him back. And so, he's been doing this for 40 years now, 40 years. And
I get it.
Really, he has to tell a story. He can't do anything else but tell a story.
He was my favorite. He was my favorite speaker. He was my favorite speaker out of all of them.
I think I know what happened.
Where were you at? What happened?
That contact in the desert.
Oh, yeah, I was there too. What happened, Korey?
Travis's case, all of a sudden, thinking about my own experience with tractor beams, being lifted in this column of blue light, there's something that stuck out for me as a key moment in like one of my first remembered abductee experiences, where they took me, I was out of consciousness when they first approached me. Then I had an in-between memory where I could remember being lifted up in the tractor beam, or whatever you want to call it, this blue column of light. I'd say a biosynchronous tractor beam would be a better term than just tractor beam. But anyway, I'm in this column of light. I get floated out through the window, and I was trying to figure out, I had the realization that for some reason I had to have been conscious when this beam was syncing with me. And the only reason I can think of for that is that my conscious field would have been affected by this beam technology if I had not been conscious. So what I'm getting now, what I'm understanding now, is that in Travis's case, he approaches this craft completely unprepared, gets hit by the same type of beam. It scrambled him. It scrambled his atomic structures. It scrambled, it killed him and messed up a lot. Basically, it sounds like it shunted his soul right out of his body.
Wow.
But hearing that, I just put two and two together and realized, that makes perfect sense, that him being struck completely unprepared by that kind of a beam technology would have done that.
Wow.
Well,
so they put him back together. They put him back together real special.
Yep.
He's like real special now.
We can rebuild you. We have technology.
He's really not the same, but he's really special.
We don't want to forget Rebecca here, so I guess I'm gonna. We have to wrap up the show pretty soon here, and I know Rebecca, it's like 3 in the morning for her. So we'll do this again now. So keep an eye on the Aquarian Radio Network at aquarianradio.com, and we'll have Barbara back. And we always talk about extraterrestrials here because we are all upset. We're always contacting experiencers, and we'll talk more. Thank you so much, Jan. Do come back again.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Glad you talked, Jan.
Okay, aloha for now.
Bye, Jan.
Aloha.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so we're running out of time. We do have like 20 minutes left. We should probably start wrapping up. It goes fast. I know, Barbara, you've been such a trooper here with us. It's the middle of the night for you. Let's focus on, I wanted to say something real quick. Let's see, it's all wetly started. Now I forgot, there's all this stuff going on here, but we'll talk more. We'll have you back. Whenever you want to come, Barbara, just send me an email. What would you like to say? What else would you like to share, Barbara? Because we're running to the last part of the show.
That I have a show, I guess. We talk about that, or I have a show once a week.
Yeah.
If that's okay to say.
I'm just going to put this out there. Before we sign off, I wanted to know about your fire walking, because I did it once. But go ahead. Tell us about your
I still
show.
fire walk. I still teach fire walking. I love it. I love the element fire. I'm a quadruple Leo. I have a Leo sun, a Leo moon, a Pisces rising. But I just love the element fire. So I love teaching fire walking. In fact, I had a client ask me to go with her to a fire walking event, and I said, sure, I would. But she forgot to tell me that it was where you learn how to teach fire walking, and for that week. And so when I got there, they had a fire walk that night, and I had never walked a fire walk. I had never done a fire walk before. So I did do like a 10-foot fire walk, and then we did a 100-foot fire walk, and then I had to break boards, and I had to break bricks, and I had to put a darning needle through my hand, and pull it out the other side. And, it was this whole, like, leadership training thing, and I had no idea. And so that's how I learned how to be a teacher. It was all a mistake. Yeah, right? And so I taught firewalking for years. I loved it. I did a firewalk on the Big Island. Yeah, I loved it. It was one of my favorite ones. Yeah, a long time ago. This was probably in, mid-90s maybe, 1998, 99, something like that. Yeah. So, and I taught
So how did you
firewalking.
get to France?
My son and I live with my son and my daughter-in-law and my grandson, and we were in LA. My son is a gaming producer. He was working for DreamWorks, and we were sitting around saying, wouldn't it be nice for our grandson to be bilingual and to learn about other cultures? And if we're going to do that, he is 8 years old, and we need to do that before he starts hitting his puberty, like 11 or 12. And so it doesn't give us a lot of time. And so my son goes, well, where would we want to go? And I go, well, let's go to France. We all love France, and we saw these pictures of Paris. We had all this Paris stuff all around everything, and I had taken my kids to France after they graduated from high school. And so my son goes, well, let's just go. And he goes into LinkedIn, and he makes one request that he sees for a gaming job in France. And in 60 days, we moved everything, done everything, packed up, and we all moved to France, and we were living in France in 60 days.
So you were able to live there. So he was able to take his mother and you and his child
and the dog,
and his wife, and
a dog.
And how long can you live there, or is it indefinite?
We've been here about 8 months now. Yeah, I went down and went back to LA, and I do the at the Contact in the Desert. I hold sacred space there at the Cosmic Cafe for people to come and talk about their experiences. That's part of my work that I really love doing. And so
stay long. I went to that the circle one of the days. Yeah. So we met.
Did? So I met you.
Yeah.
I kind of remember now. You meet so many people, but you should have grabbed me and hugged me or something.
I may have hugged you. There were so many people in the experiencer circle, I just finally had to leave. I don't even think I got to say anything more than my name, and then they were going to go around and get the longer stories, and then people just kept coming, and I had to go do something.
That's the one with Alan Feinstein was there too. Then is that the one where he was? Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
I didn't make it back, but it was a good circle.
Will you be there next? You'll have to be there next year then. We'd love.
Well, my husband, Dr. Sasha, got invited to present. Or maybe I shouldn't say that. I just said it on air, so I don't know. But we're looking into that. And yeah, I will definitely be there. So I'd love to. I've been doing groups with experiencers since 1989, 90, 91.
Wow.
I was at Penn State University, and my girlfriend and I were both experiencers, and the university gave us a room, and we did it for 3 or 4 years, and it was free. They gave it to us free. It was called part of the adult education. That's why nobody knows that the Penn State University had a UFO group. But we were leading it, and that was, nobody else. Oh, it's Phil Class. Phil Class, if you know who that is, the big debunker. He found us, and he started writing to us, and he sent one of his cronies to try to take out our group. And so this guy would come and be very disruptive, but it kind of made it interesting. But we did that as long as we could, and eventually I had a bad marriage. I had to get out of Dodge, and I came to Hawaii. So we all go through that,
Yeah.
So
I lived on the Big Island for a while, not for very long, just a few months, but love Hawaii. Well,
yeah, I'm on Maui, so my husband is 76, and he got this place in 1979. So
wow.
I came in 97. Yeah, so it's great to be in the island. It's a different planet.
It's my home. When I go to Hawaii, I feel when my feet barefoot hit that ground, there's just something about it. I feel really close to the goddess there. There's so much life there and vitality there. I just get so energized really quickly there.
That's Hawaii's a nodal point.
It's a
yeah. If I'm remembering that right, it was Richard Hoagland actually pointed out there's the 19.5 degree correlation. It lines up with Hawaii when you overlay a tetrahedra inside Earth.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
And I think that's why I was drawn here. And the Big Island is on the 19.5, and then Maui's just a little bit north of that. And then Oahu and Kauai and so forth, and all that stuff. So, anyway,
okay.
Yeah, let's do it. I'll be there. Tickets in May, so let's make sure we connect and we'll talk between now and then. Anyway, but yeah, definitely.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. I better check the time here. We have 14 minutes left. Okay, let's go around, and we're going to end with Barbara. Karen, what's your final words here?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to talk about the Travis Walton case. I went with the team to Roswell this year, and we sat across the hallway there from Travis, and he does have a very special energy, but we also got to purchase his documentary. You guys need to look that up because it's phenomenal. He wasn't real happy with the commercial movie, so a documentary was made. And, in fact, he did believe he was killed by the propulsion system of the craft, and then they brought him up to repair him. And that reason why, and there's witnesses who pass lie detector tests, and that Philip Glass, is that his name? He actually,
Phil, yeah.
Yeah, he paid one of the witnesses to lie. And the guy refused. So it was a very interesting side note that the debunkers really were all over this case and wanted it not to be true and wanted it to be what it wasn't. And it was a very highly documented case. But that coming up by his chest, something I've been learning from a lot of different sources, but primarily from being dreams and visions of our chakra system. Every single body, like it could be a human body, it could be a planetary body, has a singularity. It has a center point. Like if you cross the X and the Y line and the Z line, it'd be that center point, energetically center part of the body. And for us, it lines up roughly in the solar plexus or heart area. And basically, that singularity, when you get to higher levels of consciousness, you begin to manipulate and control your centeredness of your singularity. That's literally where the center of your Merkaba body is, and you can that's how higher level consciousness beings bilocate, transport, are able to travel through stargates. All of that happens through that singularity. So when you see this sort of image of the drawings of it, whatnot, of Travis being pulled up to the ship, and he's kind of laying back, and it looks like this being is hitting him in the center of the chest and pulling him up, is because they just simply went for the part of his physical and light body where that singularity is, and it's like our individual gravitational center. And the ability, we literally can develop the ability, and some higher level beings have it to negate the planetary gravity that you're on, and that's how levitation happens. So some, adept monks and whatnot are able to get into that center point singularity, and also the ability to do that is called star navigator DNA. So you take a star navigator and put them in a ship, and a ship that's just like some kind of flying saucer that's just floating there, has its own negative, neutral, I would say, not negative, neutral gravitational force, you align your chakra, your singularity with the flying saucer, and you become the propulsion. This is why the government's never figured out how the propulsion of a ship really works. It took them a long time. It's because they thought it was jets, or they thought it was, some kind of energy force or fuel. It's not. It's that the ship and you become one, and you navigate it. You use your will to say, hey, I want to go over there, or I want to go over there. And then when they put people in the Montauk chair and they could see the future just a few more minutes, it's because you didn't want to run into you don't want to run into a planet or a star, something on your way to wherever it is you want to go. So that ability to be prescient for a few seconds or minutes allowed you to see your path, so you wouldn't run into anything. So I'm throwing that out there. Maybe that'll mean something to somebody, but it's a very important part of our spiritual anatomy, that singularity point. So I just thought I'd share that.
May
Hey, Korey, yes.
Add something real quick to that. Is the other possible component is that as Travis approached this ship, he was appraised by an AI, and the AI for a ship like that is functioning on organic principles. So it might have actually had, say they weren't really paying attention to what was going on with the AI as he approached the ship. I think they can pull consciousness into manifestation with a ship so that the ship itself takes on organic awareness. So maybe maybe seeing Travis approached, it got alarmed and fired off a defensive blast, thinking, occupants not being fully engaged for whatever reason with what was going on. The craft could have been having trouble too, because it's odd that it would have just been parked there in the forest, hovering there in the forest in the first place. So maybe that's it. But if we're going for closing remarks now, do you want me to just go with mine?
Go ahead. Let me keep with the time. We have 8 minutes, so go ahead.
I'll talk fast.
And then we're going to pass it. Well, you don't have to talk fast, but we'll just keep aware of the time. So go ahead.
Oh, I want Barbara. Don't need the last word.
Have final words.
There's the thing I keep coming back with Barbara's experiences. I'm wondering exactly where you went. Because you went multiple places too, which is also the other interesting thing. And one of them, you say that you were on board a spaceship, that you had a definite sense you were on board a spaceship, and yet, I suppose it could have been parked in low orbit over a planet. That would make sense actually, because when you went outside it, you're coasting over this gorgeous green landscape that was just resplendent with life. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too is going back to the moon you saw outside of this manor house. These be like maybe pockets. Some of these places, that almost sounds like a pocket in the astral where people were meeting, where different entities could meet at this manor house. I've heard of places like that before. But yeah, that's the thing I'm finding interesting is where exactly you went, Barbara. Just like I said, it's a typical yet atypical near-death experience. It's very very special.
Yeah, when I got the sense of it afterwards that these beings that I was working with, or they were working with me, was that they weren't on any planet, but that they could go in between the planets. They could go in between the time. That they really lived on a ship. I don't see them. I didn't feel like they were connected to any particular planet or any particular time zone, that they were able to kind of go in and out all of it. That was my hit on it, my sense of it.
Kind of space faring?
Yeah, let me just add 2 cents to this. A lot of times when I go, if I wrap wherever I go, if I try to wrap myself around a place, then I pop back into my body. So this is my astral form. It goes, and it doesn't matter where I am. I'm just there. And the things that they show me are for my comfort, so I don't pop out and disengage from experience. It's all mind, and mind creates it, and it's an instantaneous creation. And when you're not there, it dissolves. It doesn't. We are what's holding it together. When people get wrapped around the nuts and bolts and trying to have a ship or a planet or this or that, it's not that. It's beyond that. And that when you get that, you realize, oh my God, this is existence. This creation. This is not just third dimensional. We're multidimensional. We go everywhere and anywhere, anytime we want to.
Yeah.
And we're God. We're all God. We're all God. We're all one.
Yeah.
And then you laugh.
We are.
Oh my goodness.
We are. I have to agree with that 100%. 100% right with that. Exactly. I do feel like I was given those experiences because it could have been any experience like you're talking about, Janet, but those were my comfort levels in order to teach me whatever it was that they were teaching me or what I wanted to.
Yeah, because they can tell who you are, what's on your mind. They know everything. There's no barrier between you and them. You are they, and they are you. So it is a part of you that has come into play to teach you what you need to know about wherever you're going. But your purpose is here on Earth, and you're who you are in the continuum, in the totality of existence. And then you're enlightened, and you're here, and you go, okay, I got to go back to Earth. I got to clean the toilet. Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. And I guess
properly.
My message would be the love part. It was that love part that at times dark or tough. It's the love. It's really the heart of life. It's just the love part. If that would be my last comment. That we're
that's all
with.
I agree, because in the end, I think John Lennon said it's only the love we make is equal to the love we take, or the love we, it's some beautiful song that John Lennon had about what the meaning of life is. It's just about love, and it's said in so many ways, but that's all you can do is take with you the experience of love, and when you shut out love, and when you included love, and when you gave love, and received love, and that's the bottom line. Okay, we've got 3 minutes. Do you want to say one more thing, Korey, before we run out of time?
We're talking about love. I got a fable. It's passed down in my family. There's a bird that didn't get the best diet. Ate a lot of stuff from McDonald's parking lots. That kind of a bird. All right. Perched in a tree over a farmhouse, sees the other birds flying away south for the winter. He's thinking, "Oh, great! They're all leaving for the winter. Now I can eat all the worms I want." And this bird, has been kind of addled, so he doesn't know how to get out of fly home for winter. Well, ends up falling over in the first frost, nearly dead. And cow sees him and thinks, "Well, what can I do to help this poor bird?" "Oh, perfect." She poos on him. Well, the result of having this dung on top of the bird warms him up, and he starts singing, he's happy. He's like, "Oh, I'm in a pile of, I feel so warm and happy." And sure enough, the farmer's cat finds the bird, comes along, and eats it. So the perspective, I guess, is the point of the story is if you're covered in fertilizer, if you're covered in that, keep your mouth shut, get out of it, and you'll get to see the flowers grow from that pile.
I think you're using a kind word, fertilizer. When you're covered in shit, shut up.
Well, that's what it is. All the crap we go through ends up as being fertilizer. It's the substrate that you grow out of to fertilize your, to branch out in terms of your spirit. And that's part of this perspective taken. And love is the thing. Love is the link and the key that holds us in resonance with people as we travel together through lifetime. It's the value of, on the higher level we choose to experience unpleasant things, affiliated with different people, but on, and that is also done out of love because it's saying, what can I give you in this lifetime that will help you advance too? And at the lower, at the soul level, well, not the soul level, the level of our awareness here on Earth, when we become aware of our past lives and so on like that, the love comes back in when we recognize what has happened and seek to cleanse it, to do right by each other again. So that's that's also part of the process, the evolutionary process we're on.
Final minute to Barbara. How do people contact you?
Contact me at thecosmicoracle@gmail.com is a good way. That's my email address. And also you can BarbaraJeanLindsey.com, and that's BarbaraJeanLindsey.com. Thank you so much for having me on. I really, really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
Wonderful
we
conversation.
Love you too, dear. Thank you, Korey. Thank you, Karen. And that's it. We're on time. Much love and blessings and aloha.
Au revoir for now.
Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.